All right, welcome guys to yet another podcast, and today we are featuring Jasper Cloete. Is that how you say it?
No, Cloete.
Cloete. That's how I say it.
Or in English, Cloete.
Cloete in English, or Cloete in Afrikaans. Jasper is a business person. He's into property, and he's also an author. He wrote a book called Legacy, and in this book he talks about some very key four steps that he's going to be sharing with you. But as we always do, we always kick off with a scripture, and we're going to start off in Proverbs 13 verse 22, and it says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just." So Jasper, welcome to the podcast. And what's in the book when we look at it from a grace in the marketplace perspective, from a marketplace leader's perspective? What does the book talk about? It's specifically the 4 steps towards
The far out, I can maybe link up with your scripture reading. The book is really expounding on that verse, Proverbs 13:22, because in 2008 I received a revelation on that specific scripture. And it sounds very religious when it's just read from the Bible like it is. But and some people even use that scripture to say, here it is black and white. Just become a Christian, then you can claim the wealth of the sinners. And it bothered me for a long time because I saw most Christians actually being poor and not being wealthy. So what is missing? And then I found I got a revelation on the book, and basically we have to understand the context of Proverbs, that at the time of writing, when Solomon put these Proverbs together, he was not necessarily the owner of all of them. Mm-hmm. By the time he arrived, these wise sayings were already in the mouths of people, and that's why it's called Proverbs. And parents, so wise men of old would observe nations and societies, and when they see something that's always true, that if you do action A, action B or result B is the consequence, then parents would start teaching their children, don't do A because B is the consequence. And that's so it became a social law. But the early people didn't have writing instruments. Only the very rich could afford scribes. So by the time that Solomon came to earth, he was both rich and a scholar, and he made his own observations, and he realized the power of these observations, and he wanted to make sure that it's protected for posterity, and that's why he then wrote it down.
That's powerful, because if you look at it from that perspective, you also realize that wealth gives us influence. To shape a culture.
Totally, and that was what I saw. But this is a wow, that God allowed Solomon to write it up, but it's not specific to just Christians. It's a universal law.
Come on, that's good.
That whoever applies it will then benefit. And if I then now rephrase that scripture in my own words, it basically then says, in any time period, under any conditions, regardless of what is your race, background, religion, if you become the founding parent of your family legacy, and the test of it, will it still be functional during the time of your grandchildren, then and only then for that family, part B will apply, and that is the wealth, the unused resources of the sinner, the families who missed the mark, and it will come to the righteous, families who do the right thing.
Come on, that's good. That's powerful. And I know you talk about the 4 steps to significance, which ultimately lands us in legacy, in a place where, and I like how you actually defined significance and legacy, because Jasper, I came to one of his classes and he blew my mind. He said, when you get to significance, we're talking about what's going to happen, or what people are going to think when they hear your name 300, you say 300 years from now?
Well, anything beyond your lifetime, basically. But if you look at the generational families, they all plan for 100 years plus.
Come on.
And there are examples in the book of some Asian families who are still going 700 years later.
In fact, they say an average Japanese firm is built to last 300 years. Just an average firm. You know, they're not just thinking about themselves. They're thinking beyond themselves. And so you say these 4 steps start at struggle.
Yeah,
And
just
this is
to-
where most people start if you are the first person to have this mindset of building wealth for your family.
You know how it came to me was because I struggled myself not having role models in my family of rich people. And I thought legacy just means being rich. But I've also seen many rich people die, and 6 months later, all the wealth is consumed.
Come on.
So I started to study generational families, and in South Africa, we've got examples. Maponya just recently
Yeah,
died
yeah.
at 91.
Very
Uh,
influential.
So Oppenheimer, Rupert are well-known examples. And the media and the politicians loves to hate these people.
Yeah.
But God
And religion.
and religion. But God led me to say that these people are His blessing to a country
Come on.
because they have learned how to sustain wealth and grow it for generations to come. Which the spin-off is they provide jobs to thousands and thousands of citizens of all walks of life.
That's powerful.
Now, using that example, I then traced back and I read the biographies of these founders. And what then amazed me was that all of them had all the odds against them. Let's take
Yeah.
Maponya, for instance.
Yeah.
He had no handouts, no BE deals, nothing.
No, nothing.
And maybe there's an unsung hero in his past because he studied to become a teacher. So probably there was a mother working her backside off to put him through university or
Yeah.
and at least teaching.
Yeah.
But he then took it further, and he literally took on the apartheid regime at that stage
Yeah.
from a business perspective, with no handouts. But there's many stories of people who rebel against the circumstances of the day. But what he did right, and similar to Rupert and Oppenheimer, none of them started rich.
Yeah.
They did not only become wealthy in their time, but they also then had a vision to say, I'm going to take my family on a journey and teach my kids where this wealth comes
That's powerful.
from, and that we are stewards, we are not consumers and owners, because an owner can say, okay, who cares? But a steward knows that he's just temporary in charge.
Come
and
on,
then
that's
he moves
good.
on.
And I like that because it takes away the entitlement mindset. When you're a steward, you know that this belongs to God ultimately, and you will handle it as if it belongs to God.
And when I then got that understanding that, first of all, you must find a man, woman, or couple who then are willing to take up the responsibility of becoming the founding parent, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, yeah.
I'm sure if Maponya was still alive, he would tell you some tough stories.
Yeah.
Where he himself probably doubted, will it ever turn around for me? But he kept the vision.
Come on.
And you need that kind of founding parent. And then one day God woke me up with this 4 steps.
Yeah.
And he said that people with a one generation mindset, which are 99.9% of people around us,
Yeah.
don't understand or have an inkling of what it takes to be a 3-generational founder.
Right.
Because the journey that takes you there goes through the 4 stages of struggle,
Struggle,
stability,
stability,
success,
success,
significance.
significance.
But then you then have to understand that people can only understand where they are right now. Now, with
Yeah.
99% of the population at struggle, how do we define struggle? It's not a political context. It's
Come on.
purely, if you look at your current cash flow minus your current expenses, what is left at the end of the month?
Come on.
Is it a plus or a minus? If it's a minus, and it has been a minus last month and the month before, well, you're in struggle.
You're in struggle, yeah. If you have more month than money, you're
Absolutely.
in struggle.
And it has nothing to do with how much you earn, because as one of my friends is a debt counselor, people are struggling even at 50 or 100,000 rand a month.
Yeah. Millionaires. In fact, they say lotto winners upgrade their spending just so they can go back to their mindset. So it's not what's coming in. It's a certain way of thinking.
And the challenge with that mindset, if you stay there too long, your inner world becomes one of hopelessness.
Wow.
Where you see yourself as a victim. So anything happening to you is, poor me, I'm the victim. Eskom putting up their prices, poor me. Government make this decision, poor me.
Wow.
And blaming your parents, blaming the church.
Yeah.
So the only way to get out of it, sorry to say this, but it doesn't matter how long you pray and cry and fast.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, you have to fix that equation. You have to increase income
Yeah.
and find additional resources.
Yeah.
And Ecclesiastic tells us that we have to sow in 7, even 8 places because we
Wow.
don't know where it comes from.
That's powerful.
And then you also then have to reduce the expenses. And I was amazed when I started this exercise that even the poorest of the poor waste money
Yeah.
because of entitlement.
Yeah. It's a certain level of
But
mindset.
once you adopt that generational founding parent mindset, then you are willing to make the sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I would say on average, if I look at our program that's been going since 2008, it probably takes between 18 to 24 months for people to solve that equation,
Oh, wow.
to get into a plus. And when they get into a plus, that's when we call it stability.
Stability. So you're moving from struggle now to stability.
And then the mindset change from hopelessness to hope.
Come on.
And it's a powerful emotion, because the moment you have hope about life
Come on.
and the rest of the people around you are hopeless, you tend to attract all the positive energy
Come
and the
on.
positive ideas and positive things to you.
Come
So
on.
your journey starts to accelerate.
That's powerful.
But there's also a danger, because when you just cross that threshold of cash
Struggle, yeah.
from a minus cash flow to a plus cash flow, that initial cash flow surplus is minuscule. It's an extra 50, 100 rand a month.
Yeah.
And the problem is we are still in our consumption mindset.
Right.
So what can you do with the extra 50, 100 rand a month? So
Let
you
me go
end
buy
up
ice cream.
literally. So
Yeah.
you're not motivated. You're not excited. So
Come on.
you can then easily get sucked back into the media promises to just go and open up an Edgar's account or open up this
Yeah.
account, and you're back in struggle.
Struggle again.
So it's important at that point in time to surround yourself with people where then collectively my 100 rand plus your 100 rand plus 10 others makes 1,000 rand.
Yeah.
And now we collaborate and say, what can we do with this 1,000 rand?
That's good. That's good.
And then if you do it, and you do it with a mindset that I need to have 3 or more separate growing sustainable income streams,
Yeah.
because that is what's required to get to success.
That's investment now. You're investing.
Now well, part of the thing is that your job alone is not enough.
It's not enough. Yeah. Now you're getting into investment.
And investment is certainly, and there's no limit to how many avenues of investment you can look at. But
Yeah.
I'm saying even before you get to investment, just
Yeah.
to get out of your current predicament,
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that people can do to have a second income
That's good.
stream. So when other people watch movies and TVs, why don't you start pursuing your interest or hobby and collaborate and see how can
That's
you
powerful.
commercialize it?
Yeah.
So in our generational inheritance group, abbreviation is GIG movement, we actually have such a second income stream that we then train people on, and then they have the protection of the whole thing. And obviously then with that we also then have investment club that
Right.
people can look at property and co-invest in other people's businesses for
Right.
as little as maybe 1,000 rand a share. But then once you have your 3 or more sustainable and growing income streams, then you can now say, okay, I've reached the station of success, and then you're released into your significance.
Right.
And significance is then that thing that you always wanted to do, and you tell your friends, if I have the money, I would do X, Y, Z.
Right. Success.
No, success is having the choices
Right.
of 3 or more income streams.
Right. And
But
significance.
you never leave success. You always tweak the income streams that you have. And that's what happened with the Maponias of this world.
Right.
They started off with, I think, like a spaza shop. And then it became petrol stations, and then a mall, and then a whole lot of things. But by becoming a specialist on the 3 or more income streams, opportunity will then find you. But the purpose of that growing income streams is not for you to become fat and lazy.
Come on.
It's for you now to be the instrument that God intended to say, okay, why are you on this earth? Look around you, what's wrong? And now you have the resources, and from strength you can now solve it. Not like NGOs who have to go around looking for donor funding. You can now become the Paul who says, I go where I want to go, and
Come
I
on.
fund my own business.
Come on. That's powerful. Man, I'm so excited, and I'm so thankful that you could make time to record this podcast with me. And I know that it's going to touch a lot of people across the world. We have a lot of people from all over the world that listen to this podcast, Grace in the Marketplace, and just in the marketplace and believing for God to use them to make an impact and to change people's lives, because ultimately that's what wealth is for. It is so that we can be a blessing to somebody else. So thanks, Jasper, and thank you so much. I can't wait for us to get together again and do this one more time.
If I may, can I, if people are interested to learn more about the
Yeah,
program,
yeah, you can share your
just go
your
to our
details.
website,
Yep.
and it's www.gig-institute.com.
And GIC is GIC.
GIG,
GIG.
Generational Inheritance Group. That's
Come
the
on,
abbreviation.
that's powerful. So www.gig-institute.com.
Gig-institute.com. And then when they go on the website, there's a 4-minute video that just gives an overview of the program.
Mm-hmm.
They can then register as a free member, which then gives them access to what we've just briefly discussed. We then elaborate on it in terms of the message, where does it come from,
Right.
How can they start their own community bank,
Right.
and then also how to do goal setting from a generational perspective, and
Come
how
on.
to do budgeting from a generational perspective.
Come on, that's powerful. Thanks again, Jasper, for joining me on this podcast, and thank you guys for listening. Talk to you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.